ladies and gentlemen, once again, you are hearing the wonderful sounds of my voice. My name is Chris Branson, host of From the Fuzzy Wuzzy Wasn't There, from the Cheap Seats Professional Wrestling Podcast. Today we're gonna, talk about a little bit of professional wrestling, the good, bad, and the what the is going on. The good is going to be NXT. The bad, and I wouldn't say it was so bad, was Raw. The WTF is going to be Dynamite. And I'm not railing on Dynamite. I'm not railing on AEW. But there's some things from last night's Dynamite that I need to bring a light to. And yeah, I'm not a professional wrestler. I'm just a fan. I've been a fan for 40 years. Not going to know everything. Not going to never stepped in a ring. But I will tell you flat out, people the way they're going to see it. And kind of listening today to wrestlers who have their own podcast, namely Busted Open, kind of getting their perspective on things in regards to the world of professional wrestling. Let's start out with the good. We're going to kind of flip a little bit of this as we do this today. Let's go with the good. Good being NXT. Shawn Michaels has not missed in many weeks in regards to his show down there in Orlando and traveling to points elsewhere, depending on the occasion, i.e. the forthcoming show there in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania at the 2300/AKA ECW Arena. Now, that is sure to have replete a lot of ECW alumni, male, female. Pretty sure they'll play into some kind of factor during the show. I have a feeling that it'll probably end up like a mini PLE. You're going to get tiered matches with what's the word I'm looking for here? Stipulations. And that's cool. I would say that in regards to NXT, the women's division, and let's start there. The women's division is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and there is not a lack in NXT for women's talent. There isn't. In fact, when the next draft happens, there's probably going to be enough of them that are going to go up north to the big brands, to Raw and SmackDown, and supplement those divisions, kind of broaden the divisions, especially with the future NXT or Netflix and SmackDown eras, and Netflix and USA / Peacock / Comcast / your mother's, as Bully Ray would say. We're not gonna curse today. Not gonna try to. But yes, NXT, their women's matches have not missed. Let's start with Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson. Getting the rub from Io Sky and Kairi Sane. Io Sky, Kairi Sane, their resume speaks for itself. Well-known Joshi wrestlers in Japanese professional wrestling have been doing this quite a while. And Io is still very young for it to bring that fact up. Kairi can go. Kairi can go whatever style you throw at her. She is it, does it. She's about it. Lash Legend. Now, I will tell you in a previous podcast, I probably would have said months ago, not necessarily the biggest Lash fan, but she has improved. the lash extension, and she really sold me the previous SmackDown when she hit it on Piper Niven. Now, mind you, Lash is a former WNBA basketball player, former collegiate basketball player. She is, from what I understand, one of the strongest women, uh, not named Bianca Belair, that has come into the PC for some time. The upside, as long as she continues to polish her game, the sky's the limit. Same thing with Jakara Jackson. I know injuries have hampered her, and that, you know, given an opportunity, she's worth going to go show the talent that she has. That match was good. You know, it had eyes on it from more than just the normal crowd. Uh, at the end of the day, the right team went over, but they were able to get over the more serious need to broaden the tag team division for women. Honestly, I think, and this is just me, that what they need to do is bring back the NXT women's tag team titles. There was no point in merging them when they did. I don't think there was. You can redress them like you will the men's tag team titles, give them a new image, whatever. But yes, bring back the NXT women's tag team titles. You know, it should be that if you're going to move a women's tag team up, allow that to be kind of their, okay, I've gotten here, so eventually I'm the next one to go north. Do it like that. You know, and then kind of steal from TNA. The feast or fired. Now, that's not getting anybody fired. You know, professional wrestling is great when everybody's working, but, you know, kind of go, you know, change up the money in the bank a little. Maybe something like that. Where 4 cases, you get one. One says, hey, you're being relegated back to day 1, week 1. You know, and that's just storyline. The other 3 are for a specific men's or women's championship match. It'd be perfect to do it that way. Why do I say this? Why? Because then you are showing ability for chemistry and tag teams to be built around said potential chemistry has that opportunity to grow. You know, speaking on another area, another match that's going to hit Halloween Havoc this Sunday is Obafemi and Tony D'Angelo. Now, this week, Obafemi faced off against Luca Crucifino, the consigliere to the Dawn of NXT. And it was a good try. I'm just going to say that. It was a good try by Luca. And to the day, Obafemi shows it why he is the ruler of NXT. But previous to that, an interesting thing happened on the way to the ring. That being that Ariana Rizzo, usually the cleaner, I guess you could say, of the D'Angelo family, mafioso D'Angelo, got attacked from behind with a chair and in storyline injured her elbow. Then after the match, probably about a couple segments after the match, you see Obafemi giving Nikita Lyons her heavy coat. You drop this. Little hints, sprinkle. Further the potential story per se. And that's what Sean is great with. Is he likes to do a lot of this. The right seasoning, the right time on NXT. From there, you have the build up to a future match between Andre Chase and Ridge Holland. Now, yes, Andre Chase, Ridge Holland, yada yada yada. You would say, well, why do we need this match? Well, Andre Chase is defending the honor of Chase U. This is the third or fourth time in the last couple of years that Chase U's kind of had to face down adversity, and most of his roster there at Chase U is out, storyline or otherwise. Ridge has done a pretty good number on Duke and the whole lot of them as well. Honestly, you could sit there and say potentially that this was a needed match. If Andre Chase and his cohorts are the next group to go up to the big roster, maybe this is the end of Chase U, as to where Andre Chase himself is just going to separate himself and be his own man. Who knows? They could all four grow up as a group. I mean, Triple H and current main roster like groups. So we'll see how they go from there in regards to like Thea Hale and Duke Hudson. It's about damn time that Duke Hudson went north. I mean, that man got settled into some pretty crappy gimmicks at first when he got into NXT, but now, I mean, being the MVP of Chase University, it's kind of allowed him to find his niche. He's perfect where he's at. And hopefully not too far in the distant future, he's going to be up there with his group of people there at NXT or on the main roster. And when I mean that, his fellow Aussies, Grayson Waller, Rhea Ripley, those kind of folks. Going from there to the Trick and Ethan Page segment. Ethan Page is great with a promo. Had Ethan Page, while he was working for AEW, been allowed to talk and wrestle, I admire the not so abusive toll on the body that AEW provided a lot of its talent. There was a lot of talent that were just kept on a contract because maybe WWE wanted them and they were just going to hold off allowing them to be free agents. I don't know. It's a different era. It's not WCW and versus WWE versus ECW anymore. It's WWE versus AEW versus New Japan versus MLW versus X, Y, and Z. Not so much WWE against TNA because they have a partnership with NXT. But Ethan Page is showing, hey, you underutilized me. Now I'm going to show you why and where you went wrong. And I look forward to that Devil's Playground match. It's probably going to be the best match of the night. If the women's match, which I'm almost certain the women are going to main event this Halloween Havoc. I mean, you don't put Stephanie Vaquer and Julia together without as well having them face off against the frenemies, whatever you want to call them now, Core Jade and the NXT Women's Champion Roxanne Perez. Now, Roxanne Perez, you already know she's going north. And well deserved. I mean, I could tell you when I was at Royal Rumble in 2023 there in San Antonio, she stood out. And she stood out to a lot of people in the crowd. I mean, she obviously got the hometown pop because she's from Texas. But, you know, Roxanne Perez has the ability, the potential to be the next Bayley or the next Becky Lynch. You know, small in stature, but can still kick your ass if need be. Cora Jade probably will go up with her. Cora Jade's been the unfortunate victim of 2 knee replacement, ACL tears. So it's kind of sucked for her. Same thing with Nikita Lyons, that they've kind of been, I wouldn't say regressed, but just have been victims of unfortunate circumstance. But needless to say, it's going to figure itself out. Now we're going to talk about the main event, Fatal Influence versus the aforementioned Stephanie McCare and Julia, the Dark Angel and the Beautiful Madness. Now we already know that we're going to get a future where Stephanie McCare and Julia face off in NXT as they have before in New Japan for Stardom, for CMLL, I believe. So they're seasoned to each other. They've just never tagged together before NXT. Then you had Fatal Influence, Jacy Jayne and Fallon Henley, with Jasmine Nix being the foil on the outside for the heels. It was a pretty good, solid match. You know, Julia and Stephanie McCare showed them the reason why they're there. Fatal Influence got to look a little strong against these newcomers, these well-toited newcomers. And honestly, it's not going to be too long before Jacy Jayne and Fallon Henley, if they don't go up with a future draft, that those women are going to stand out and have a championship in their possession. I mean, we saw the end of the match where you had Kalani Jordan helping the baby faces. You had the baby faces facing off with their opponents come Halloween Havoc. But then, you know, we thought we were going to get her on Sunday. The aforementioned Delta, this Australian badass, she's amazing. She is, I think, a smaller but still stout version of Rhea Ripley. Even Rhea Ripley has gone on record on social media to go, ooh, just wait till they get a load of you. So she's already got the stamp of approval from her Aussie mates that are already in the company. People better watch out. She is no slouch. She is a heavy hitter, and she will make you remember her name. Now, here's the funny part. Her new name is Xenia. Now, people are like, well, why Xenia? You know, why couldn't they use Delta? Well, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office allows for rejection, and I've got a few feelings that it's the reason why. More than likely the airline, but you know, as was brought up, there apparently was a wrestler in the past named Delta, but I mean, he was in Mexico, so that should not affect U.S. trademark. Regardless of the point, it is going to be a very interesting Sunday. I fully expect that when Sunday comes around, as far as the women's matches, Kalani Jordan versus a member of Fatal Influence for the NXT Women's North American Championship. I have a tough time remembering that one. As well as the current main event players. Your Julia, Stephanie Vaquer, Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade. If the Ethan Page and Trick Williams match doesn't steal the show, it might be the women's match at the end of the night. Like I said, I think it's going to end up main eventing the pay-per-view as it should. I expect a very compelling physical match by all four. I'm sure there will be a stipulation in that match, a no DQ or whatever. But it should be a good show. I actually am looking forward to whatever Obafemi and Tony D'Angelo is going to do. They had a hell of a match there in St. Louis a couple weeks ago. Tony winning the NXT North American Championship for the men. Should be about as hard hitting as that match was, if not more. Let's see here. Is there any other matches that I'm forgetting? No, but if it comes to me, I will get right back to it. Then we're going to move to the bad. And I'm not necessarily, this is bad. There's still things with this new 2-hour version until we go to Netflix version of Raw that they need to kind of sand out, smooth out. But there's sometimes when you go in, okay, and WWE is still rusty when it comes to making Raw 2 hours. Raw hasn't been 2 hours since 2012. And since 2012, a lot of things have changed. Roster sizes have changed. Trying to get X amount of talent on TV to further storylines have changed. So, you're trying to fit a 3-hour block into 2 hours. It may still cause headaches for many people there working for the company. But, Raw still needs a little bit of polishing. I'm going to start with the match that I think everybody is still a little salty about. That being Jey Uso, Braun Breaker. We're going to go straight to the main event. I am not a booker, but I do believe it was the right call, especially if you're getting ready to involve all the OG pieces of the bloodline against this new solo bloodline. I'm not going to argue against it. It was not a bad idea to give the championship back to Braun Breaker. And here's the thing people need to remember. The ones that are pro Jimmy all the time, pro Jay all the time. Jay is going to be a singles championship champion again in WWE. Mark my words. It's not the first dance he's going to have with the singles title. May not be the first dance he has with a major singles title, i.e. a heavyweight championship. So give it some time. Let this thing over on SmackDown in regards to the road to WrestleMania after Survivor Series pushes out. There's going to be a lot of stuff between now and January that people are going to go, wow, that happened. Let's see here. What else was on the show? Of course, they had another women's match. Damage Control. Who was Damage Control facing? Was it the women's tag team champions? No. Anyhow, we'll go back to that in a minute. The Seth Rollins, Bronson Reed segments. I particularly dug those. I thought a lot of those were pretty funny. Where in one segment, one guy is talking to somebody, they're getting jumped. The next segment, the other guy, he's getting jumped. It's going to make for a really good match, Crown Jewel. And I hope that when people watch that match, they kind of go, okay, this is Bronson Reed's step or potential step to the big time. His chance to step up to the top dog position there in WWE, or at least one of the players, whether it's a heel or babyface. Seth is the perfect person to deal with it. He's waiting to go after Punk. Punk is healing up from last couple months. Honestly, I kind of wish it had been Punk and Ethan Page. They're at Halloween Havoc on Sunday. Maybe we get a resolution to that mini feud in the coming months as well. I mean, I believe NXT has another event in December. Countdown, I believe. The Iron Survivor matches. But yes, we watching Raw, yes, we are still not used to, oh, hey, it shuts off at 9:00. Now, I do believe that the segments where Gunther and Damian Priest, there's probably going to be a run back of those two come the end of November into December, possibly running up in the Royal Rumble. Who knows? But I would not cry if Damian Priest gets the World Heavyweight Championship back from Gunther. On the other hand, Gunther is supposed to be this super badass heel, monster heel, mind you. And if you're going to put the championship on him and expect him to have for lack of a better term, an NXT, or not an NXT, okay, NXT UK Championship, WWE Intercontinental Championship style, 600 plus day run. If I remember correctly, Gunther was champion in NXT for 800 days. So, Gunther, for 73.5% of his WWE career, has held a championship. Mainly singles, but has held a championship. Maybe Damian Priest gets it back. Maybe Damian Priest gets shuffled during a draft. I think that there's going to be a draft in December. Don't hold me to it, but, with the way that NXT and Raw and SmackDown are now, would not shock me to come post NXT countdown or whatever they call it, that there is a chance that there will be a draft or a shuffle or whatever they call it now. Now, hopefully they don't make it as hokey as the last draft. And I'm not saying the last draft was hokey. I dig bringing back Hall of Famers and legends and whatnot to do stuff. But kind of also, I dug the whole old way they did matches there to determine who gets the first draft pick of each round of the draft. I'm wondering how they're going to do it, especially if the rumors are true that as soon as Raw on the 6th of January hits Netflix, that SmackDown goes 3 hours that Friday after. I would not be shocked if it was pretty much a even split in regards to men and women, and especially quite a few call-ups from NXT. Hell, the shocking one would be if they did it free agent way and allowed for free agents to sign on and then be drafted into WWE. That would blow people's minds as to who they've got or they're close to signing. Who knows? But we'll see. I think in the long run, Raw is going to get better. I mean, just if you want to consider this Raw limping along to Netflix, okay. You know, and they're not limping by any means. It's just going from a 3-hour window to a 2-hour window. It takes time. It shrinks matches. There's already people complaining. Well, the women and persons of color don't get enough FaceTime on shows, let alone in PLEs to showcase their talent. Yeah, can't argue that. But USA did WWE a solid by saying, "Hey, I know you ain't got a new home until January. Let us at least make sure that you get there and are able to broadcast your storylines from now till the launch on Netflix." Now I'm going to get to the ugly. And the ugly, I liked Dynamite last night, and I didn't like Dynamite last night. And I'll tell you why. Beginning of the night, Hangman Page. He's a talented man. He has had his issues with a certain Second City Saint, and that's cool. I am not that is not my place to concern myself, let alone speak on, because that's them. But Hangman Page came out there to do a promo. And obviously his target is Sling Blade or Switchblade. Switchblade. Jay White. Jay White, great talent. Don't get me wrong. Pretty much saved that whole entire segment, especially with his promo at the end of the whole jumping and beating of a certain Colton Gunn, now that Austin's been out for a couple weeks post the Hangman attack. Juice was there, so hey, 3/4 of the Bang Bang Gang were there. But Hangman kind of almost bombed that whole entire segment. We have got to be more consistent with promos on Dynamite. It kind of makes me enjoy more so the show when somebody can talk. Then we got to a couple of the matches. The starting match, Shelton Benjamin, Sammy Guevara. The last 2 weeks, Shelton Benjamin facing off against cruiserweights. Not a bad way to introduce him, especially since it was Leo Rush and Sammy Guevara. That initial move that Sammy Guevara got hit with, that toss in the air, just a free toss of 10 feet in the air by Shelton Benjamin. That is showcasing why they are, even with the man being almost 50, showing him as this monster heel. Sammy is willing to take the bumps to make Shelton look better. That doesn't mean Shelton needs it. I especially liked the fact that, unlike the week before, Sammy Guevara looked like he got more fight in than Leo Rush. We're all still kind of waiting, and probably either next week at Fright Night Dynamite or down the road at Full Gear, the emergence of Bobby Lashley. I get it. And MVP is probably one of the better talents out there to kind of let you know, hey, let's slow build this. Let's kind of make this climb up the ladder as to how we're going to do this. Do not be shocked if and when Bobby Lashley shows up. But I kind of like the seeds as to how MVP is going about things in regards to acquiring new talent for this new version of the Hurt business or the Hurt Syndicate. Do I think some OGs from other groups should probably be a part of this? Yes. One being Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe was a founding member of the BDC in TNA. So it only makes sense to bring Samoa Joe into the fold when he is healthy and back from Hollywood. One of the private party kids. It was a really good match they had with the Bucks last night. No complaints. That trios match delivered. And I'm not necessarily a big fan of Jack Perry, but him and the Bucks put Daniel Garcia and Private Party over to the moon. The ladder war. Now, I love me the history of ROH. I get why ROH is still around in regards to Honor Club. Still attempting to build it as a separate brand to AEW. But until you put it on like Max, get away from the Honor Club membership kind of thing and you move it to Max. And like I said the week before, if I got to pay a little bit more for Max, and I have a bundle for Disney and Max and yada yada, if I got to pay a little more a month there instead of having to pay half the price of a pay-per-view, do it. And also, if you're going to put it under the sports, whether it's Bleacher Report, because I know they went away from Bleacher Report. If you're going to put it as a live event or something, separate it. Put the whole ROH library on there so that people can watch the Danielsons and Punks and McGinnises and Samoa Joes, Kevin Steens, El Genericos, even early Young Bucks stuff. Cody Rhodes after you left WWE. Put it on there. Now, I'm going to disagree with a man who kind of knows quite a bit more than me about Kyle Fletcher's promo. It was good. I'm not going to take away from that. But the minute you start saying that I am not Will Ospreay, that razor, I didn't need to know 3 or 4 times that you are not Will Ospreay. That is well established that you are not the aerial assassin. Just get to the point, shave your head, look in the camera. A good point of his promo was bringing home the fact that he did what Ospreay couldn't do, which was show a killer instinct and use the Tiger Driver 91. In professional wrestling, that move, regardless of company, has pretty much been banned. And with good reason. It is shoulder to neck heavy. And that's a lot of weight, especially if you're a 200-pound something man being dropped in 2 spots. As we talk about cranium and cerebral health and trying to keep talent from being concussed and injured. Yeah, we need to understand why. Now, mind you, that was also the sell point. It was selling that Kyle Fletcher has no guilt for what he did to Will Ospreay. Kyle Fletcher have cultivated and under Don Callis, which Don Callis is no slouch as a manager. He is the invisible hand for a reason. Kyle Fletcher is either going to get shot to the moon or he's going to flop and fail. Ospreay's resume already shows that he can go anywhere and he can give you a match that you're not going to forget. Ergo Ricochet, ergo Kenny Omega, ergo Kazuchika Okada. You know, do not be shocked if Kyle Fletcher is wearing a heavyweight or a secondary men's title, the TNT title at some point in the near future. Storylines. Oh, the Ladder War. I actually really like the Ladder War. And I will say that the learning tree gimmick Chris Jericho has, it's catchy. It's not bad. It's not horrible. But it was annoying at first. Oh yeah, but you kind of get it. Now the end of the match could have gone better, you know. But I understand with the baby faces all corralled in the back, trying to prevent the Blackpool Combat Club, BCC, whatever you want to call them this week. And then at the end of the night, kind of getting fooled and played. It harkened back to an era in WCW when WCW was trying to prevent the NWO from showing up, and yet the NWO still found a way to show up. I mean, I get it, and it's a nice callback, but this is also 2024. It is not 1996. Sometimes 1996 storylines are great if they fit a storyline. I see where they're going with who they're trying to build up as the leaders in that movement. The Dan Garcias, the Orange Cassidys. That's great. They're going to get a shot. I kind of think the execution as to how talent do get a shot is a little screwy. And that's no fault Tony Khan and the powers that be. Behind the scenes, it's just continuity has always hurt their TV show when their pay-per-views show out. You know, I never have an issue, except for World's End last year, watching an AEW pay-per-view. It's actually some of the best television that they put out and the most attended. But then, you know, people are paying for a ticket to watch something that may look completely different from what the pay-per-view is trying to sell you. And the lack of continuation that the pay-per-view doesn't get the following nights. So, the Ladder War, going back to that, did it need necessarily all the run-ins? No. It was good on its own. It was hard-hitting. It was Jericho showing why at almost 55 years of age, he is still able to put people over, whether we like it or not. That it gave Mark Briscoe a platform to look important and top tier on his own. The bumps that they took, the suicide rolling senton, the suicide rolling senton into the ladder. That was a nice touch. You know, if we're gonna go bouncing and breaking ladders, that was a good spot. The fact that I think they broke like 6 ladders during the course of the match, you know, I think the ladders went to the war a lot more than just the talent. And of course, Mark, you know, opened up. He gained color. That's where I want to talk about something. This is no fault necessarily of the AEW camera crew, the production crew, the guys there on ringside. Don't shoot the wrestler blading themselves, catching juice, getting color. You have just, at that point, kayfabe be damned. You've just showed the magician's hand. Hopefully, Mike Mansouri, I believe, who runs production for AEW, will correct that with his staff and his crews And we won't have anything more like that in the future. But, here I am watching Mark Briscoe getting smacked in the head with a ladder. You would assume covering, and he's sitting there blading the top of his head. And then he's crawling along and continuing to blade his head. Don't shoot it. Whatever you do, don't shoot that moment. Why do I say this? Because you take away from the violence in the match. You're going, oh, I guess the ladder really doesn't cut. Now, I can't say that because a certain Joey Mercury damn near almost lost his nose because of a ladder at no fault of the Hardy Boys back in WWE, back during the M&M, or the Mercury Nitro Molina era. Yeah. You steal away the damage capabilities of the larger implements. The women's match. And Bully Ray said something this morning I think was pretty spot on. That match took away pretty much all the heat that a Camilo could generate as the right hand to a Mercedes Moné. It did nothing for Aminata. It did nothing for Camille. Nobody got over. Nobody was put over. It looked remarkably sloppy. And I've watched Queen Aminata and I've watched Camille compete in other companies, and that just looked like it. The two of them were shooting it on the fly instead of really sticking to a script. That's some of the ugly right there. Fix it up. We talk about this is where the best wrestle. You want to make it more than a catch line. All these talents, women, men, need to look crisp, polished. You want to beat WWE at their game? Give me storyline. Give me continuity. Yes, bumps are great, but 100 bumps a night is not going to compel me to watch all the time. A meaningful bump, an injury angle, XYZ. Those are going to compel me to go, oh, I got to watch Friday on Rampage. Oh, I got to watch Saturday on Collision. I can't miss those shows. But right now in AEW, the way they book, and I don't think they need Rampage. Have you Dynamite? Have you Collision? Get rid of Rampage. Make it a YouTube show. Make it ROH Rampage for all I care on YouTube. Or on Max as a streaming platform. Do it that way. Don't get rid of Rampage. The beauty of NXT is that NXT evolved from a previous show, that being WWE's attempt at AEW. The NXT at first was a game show and a pretty hokey one at that. But, the fact that Triple H, Shawn Michaels, William Regal, Matt Bloom, those names right there, don't have to really go any further, are a big reason. And this is not to miss out on Sarah D'Amato, Molly Holly, those that are down there in Orlando, busting their ass for their men and women to teach them the game that we love, that being professional wrestling. I will say this. If those talents would listen to a Dustin Rhodes, to a Paul White, to a Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone, they've been doing it in the game long enough. They have a wealth of knowledge down there in AEW. Use it. Go, hey, how do I do this? How do I build this? Because I don't want to see Darby Allin, and I love Darby Allin. I think he's a really good young wrestler, but I don't want to see Darby Allin taking 57 bumps, half of them into a coffin, through a sheet of glass, onto a ladder. I want that bump to count somewhere in the match where it's either ultimately going to serve to his success or utter failure. That's how I want it when I'm watching AEW. Can they get there? Oh, maybe. And most likely. But right now it's in the maybe phase. I hope that, this gets to give a listen to people that are in the powers that they are in. But we'll see. We'll see where this is going to go. Finally, for today, we're going to get into some scuttlebutt. And we're going to start with everybody's favorite ring announcer, Samantha Irvin's real name, Samantha Johnson. Better half of Trevor Mann, a.k.a. Ricochet. Her life is her own, as is anybody else's in professional wrestling. Point blank. If she decides she wants to step away for a time to go chase a musical career, hey, have at it. She doesn't have to explain that to you. You don't have to sit there and blame her partner for her leaving WWE. She chose that. She chose to chase a dream, and utterly proud for her. I mean, she's got the talent. It'll be yet to be seen that she beats Beyonce and Taylor Swift, which I hope she does. But, she is multifaceted, and other than singing God Bless America, the Star Spangled Banner, or announcing Cody Rhodes' name at WrestleMania in the middle of a wrestling ring. Actually, on that one, she was ringside. But the point being, lay off them. It's the same way with Adam Cole and Britt Baker. Worst kept secret in all professional wrestling in regards to off screen. Their life is not yours. Pay attention to your own stuff. You might learn something if you're more centered on you than you are on them. There was a lawsuit, if I remember correctly, the other day that had just come out about the Ring Boy scandal that was brought up in the Mr. McMahon Netflix documentary series. Do I think current WWE and TKO should be defendants in it? Not necessarily, but we're also talking 1980s Vince McMahon and his cabal of yes men and his inner circle hiding some pretty damning events. And when I say pretty damning events, child molestation, sexual molestation will never be cool with anybody. If it is, get your head checked or go sit yourself in a prison. Because if you like diddling with kitties, there's a couple options that are about to come out in your life. But of course, this lawsuit has Linda McMahon and Vince McMahon, and if court finds them complicit, hey, that's on them. That's the money that they're going to have to pay out to settle with these afflicted individuals. Now, do I see this going to the level of, let's say, the Catholic Church? Probably not. Is it going to be Jerry Sandusky level? Probably not. But it will hearken to a reason why Vince McMahon is no longer in power at TKO or in WWE, has any influence. Yes, the time previous to his departure, We can thank him for the memories, you know, hate him for his skullduggery behind the scenes, but I would support the side of the Ring Boys. I speak this as a father of a victim myself. You know, I hope these Ring Boys get their justice. It's one of the few times that I will speak ever against professional wrestling, regardless of company. But if found complicit, there's going to be a toll to pay. In regards to talent in companies, I know I made mention of it earlier. Don't penalize them because they want to go to WWE or vice versa. Don't penalize them because they want to go to AEW. If I'm correct, TKO really doesn't do the whole 1980 no compete list. And I don't even believe they included any more that level. But I will say this. If injury time is a reason, okay. And that a lot of times that's put into contracts. Can't blame a person. But if they're just sitting there and they're getting a paycheck without being able to do much of anything on TV, let them go. Let them go be able to shine somewhere else. It's not necessarily to the benefit of WWE or AEW or TNA, MLW, New Japan, your mama's backside, your sister's face. I really can't say the other words because I'm trying to keep it clean. But let them go flourish. It's not about making the other company money. It's about allowing them to grow their craft and have fun with their craft, not you dictating how they're supposed to make money. That's a sign of a really catty, callous, and honestly unprofessional bosses. Oh, they're gonna go benefit the other company. Now, mind you, I just mimicked Vince McMahon. He did that. And we all praise Tony Khan for not being Vince McMahon, but sometimes, there are days I go, is he really trying to compete with the old man? Wrestling is better when the ability to recognize and show talent is allowed to happen. I.e. Ricky Starks, i.e. Ray Phoenix, i.e. whoever else is going in between companies. I believe Miro or Rusev. Look at Andrade. He had a slow start when he came back to WWE now. With this 7th match coming tomorrow against Carmelo Hayes. And they're getting ready to set up for the future storylines, the LA Knights, yada yada, between Raw and SmackDown. Let them peacock feathers fly. Kind of like a hearken to the other guys. Cameo by Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Samuel Jackson. There you go. There, Dustin Rhodes. There was a movie reference. Not necessarily a line from the movie reference, but a movie reference nonetheless. Let's remember that we have TNA Bound for Glory on Saturday. We have tonight TNA Impact, furthering what we're going to see from Nick Nemeth and Joe Hendry. What we're going to get out of Steve Macklin and Josh Alexander of the Northern Armory. See what the system is going to do as well. Whether this is the pay-per-view that Jordan Grace drops the women's championship, the Knockouts championship, to Masha Slamovich. I believe there might be some play with Tatum Paxley as well as Rosemary and Wendy Chu. Could be that we get a main roster talent there too. Bound for Glory, a.k.a. Lyra Valkyria. And she's not doing anything other than main event right now. So, hey, there you go. SmackDown tonight, tomorrow. Obviously, it's going to be double taping. We're going to see the finals match between DIY and the Motor City Machine Guns. So that should be a 20, 25-minute classic all by itself. Would not be shocked how well that match goes. Obviously, the Bloodline, we're going to probably further the Bloodline story. Now that what happened on Monday, we're going to see what's going to happen on Friday and how that affects Crown Jewel in the long run, because it's going to be a double tape and there will be no Jeddah SmackDown this year, I believe. Not that I'm saying I wouldn't entertain it, but as well, maybe some interference from Liv and Raquel and anything that Nia's doing tomorrow. As well as probably get a few more matches for the card there at Crown Jewel on the 2nd. And then you got Halloween Havoc. And I'm not going to remember all the matches, so don't hold it against me. You got the women's tag team match. Julia, the Beautiful Madness, the Dark Angel, Stephanie Vaquer versus Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez. You've got Ova Femi and the Dawn, Tony D'Angelo. You've got in a Spinner's Choice match for the Women's North American Championship, Kalani Jordan versus a member of Fatal Influence. I'm going to think it's Fallon Henley, but I could be wrong. A potential appearance by Xenia, the new former Delta, newest female acquisition to the NXT brand. We're going to get Trick Williams and Ethan Page for the NXT Men's Heavyweight Championship, which in that Devil's Playground match could be pretty interesting. At least it's not a Chamber of Horrors match. Who else is in this one? If it comes to me, I'll address it again next week. And again, next week will probably be too late. Anyhow, I promised myself I'd get 50 minutes in. I went over by 13. I hope that y'all have a great weekend. I'm going to try to do so as well. Please, if you have any comments, suggestions, let me know. I am accessible on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, all the same name. Share your mind. Let me know how you feel. I'm always looking for partners. From the Chief Seats was not necessarily just going to be about me getting my thoughts, and this was supposed to be a team effort. So if you'd like to jump into the podcast world, let me know. I'm game. Donate if you'd like to. I probably am going to direct a donation when it gets built up enough towards a veterans organization in the area. Other than that, this is Chris Branson. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, all the same name. Till next time, enjoy it from the cheap seats.